Call to order this agenda meeting for the Siloam Springs Board of Directors, for the December 3rd, 2024 regular meeting. Roll call.
Blair. Here. Long.
Here.
Wiles.
Here.
Hunt. Ristler. Here. Allen. Carroll.
Here.
Thank you. So with that, we are ready to move into the agenda.
Hey, thank you,
Alan.
Madam Mayor. Board, thank you for being here today. We have a couple out. They're attending the funeral today. Maybe being here just a little bit late if they make it. But we'll start with our consent agenda. Jumping down to B, the Appointments Utility Commission for Bernadette Keck and Clara Carlos. And then, Board, I sent you an email earlier today, Madam Mayor, that I'm going to pull the utility, the Planning Commission appointments. We have an election coming up. I think it'd probably be a little bit smoother to wait on that until the election results to know if we're going to be replacing 2 board members or possibly 3. So we'll visit that at a later date. Second one is the Resolution 51-24, adopt 2025 compensation plan. Staff's here to answer any questions that you have on the compensation plans, if you have any.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
so to back up one on the Utility Commission, this is going to sound rather rude, but 5 days ago, this board informed you that they wanted to be informed about decisions and not just the mayor. This is not a slam on the mayor. She's a very intelligent, fine woman, but she has no vote. This board has a vote on commissions, and you did not vet us, let us vet these. And so I feel like that the only way to make this clear to you and the public is for me to vote no on such things. If you're not going to follow the procedure that is in the state law where we're informed and then we vote, I'm just going to vote no. I also am going to comment on the compensation plan. I think that this board spent a great deal of time in the budget meeting discussing this, and this is the type of thing that needs a commission where we get together and go over this slowly and individually with experts being able to be called. I am a little offended that this is on a consent agenda, both of these, and as well as the handbook amendment. I don't think that should be on a consent agenda. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
I think,
I agree. I think we need more time for those. I don't even quite understand the ins and outs of Resolution 5124. Yeah, and the employee handbook, I was having problems. I could not pull up the redlined version, and I just got the original version. I need more time to look through that. Yeah.
I'll address the, Christina, do you want to come up and just give them a really quick brief, the comprehensive plan? What the comprehensive plan, you have the, that was really loud, comprehensive plan of 2024. The 25 plan, it really doesn't change. All you're adding is the new compensation for the 25 plan and the employees that you approved in the budget. That would be the only change that I understand from 24 to 25.
That's correct. There's no changes in any of the wage bands except for the one that was pointed out where it said that the federal law may be changing, but that wouldn't change anybody's compensation. Other than that, we're just adding in the positions that were approved in the budget. There are no other changes to the wage plan.
Madam Mayor,
yes, Mark.
Christina, you're doing a fine job on this. It's not about you as well. I tried to make this plain that I didn't want to talk about this in the next agenda meeting, but if that's what you want to do, I will. There are 2 pages of what you sent us of people that make more money than anyone that works in any of the factories in this town. If you take a $100,000 employee and they leave that job and try to go get a job in this town, there's no place to work. If you go, and no one in my entire building makes 100,000, and we have a couple of pages worth of them. You go to Lazy Boy, you're not going to make 100,000. If you made 50, you're doing really well. If you go to Web Wheel or many of the wonderful establishments that we have in this town that fine, upstanding workers work at, no one in the whole plant makes that kind of money. I don't want to insult our employees. This is a very touchy subject, and I don't feel like that we're comparing ourselves to places that are comparable to us. If we compare to Fayetteville, Rogers, and Bentonville, they make a lot more money over there. There's a lot more factories or places to work where you can make that kind of income. I believe that we are putting our employees and this city in a precarious position that we can't afford. And I'm not wanting to attack any one person or any one job, but we need to spend some time talking about this. I don't know if it's the STEP program that began it. I don't want to insult anyone. It is literally getting out of our financial hands to pay this kind of money. And we need to pay attention to it. That is our job. Thank you.
My hearing from the board, do you guys want me to, I could pull this and we could set up a workshop to discuss the comprehensive plan? Because it's my understanding, and I'm not arguing, Director Long, I'm trying to get clarity. It's my understanding, since the comprehensive plan has been put into play, every year, once the budget is passed, we update the budget and then we bring the new comprehension plan to the board for final approval. Because the only thing that's in that new budget is what the board approved. So there's really that, and I need to know if we can do a workshop.
I don't
for
want to
discussion.
fight in public, but there were several of us on many occasions during the budget meeting displayed our uneasiness with the details in the compensation plan. I'm not attacking. I'm not declaring that anyone is not worth this money. I'm just saying I'm not an expert in HR. I'm not. There are those on the board that are, and I would love for them to join in. We are literally pricing ourselves in a very precarious position.
Lisa?
So just for clarity, and I'm going to spell it out. I'm not saying, I'm just spelling it out. So we had a budget. We approved the budget for the raises. And those raises aren't reflected in this compensation plan.
Correct.
I think that might be the confusion, is this plan doesn't have anything about what we approved as a budget. All this plan does is say, on the budget, we approved to add these positions, and now they're just putting it in the plan, and that's all. It's not affecting anybody's rates. It's not affecting anything. No rate changes are occurring in this plan. This plan is, so if you go, we hired a company, and they go in and they look at every single job, and then they assign a job description to every job. And then from that job description, they define, okay, how should the compensation be laid out? And that's all this plan is. It's not based on individuals. It's about the job structure. This isn't about the raises or anything. Does that make sense?
And I wasn't attacking any one person or job. I'm
Oh, I
telling
know
you
that.
that the overall budget can't take this.
But this isn't a budgeted item.
It is exactly a budgeted
This is a compensation plan,
item.
is it? Am I wrong? I just got that.
We added the budgeted positions in based
Right.
on what JR.
So are you saying we shouldn't add those positions in, or is it the raises that we need to look at? Because you said we need to do a committee. I'm just wanting clarification. That's it.
I think that you have much more expertise in this than I do. But if you look at the rates we're paying our employees, we're paying them above the market in this town. And so maybe when you studied it before, I was not here, maybe you studied it, Fayetteville, Rogers, and Bentonville, and it's comparable to that market. But we're not over there, and we can't live under their burden.
Okay.
And I'm telling you that before I was trying to be lightly touch it, letting everyone know, hey, this is not sustainable. We need to start talking. And that's my point. We need to start talking about this. There are far too many people having far too many zeros in their pay if they're paid at the top rate. And I realize that's much more complicated than I am. I am not an expert in HR. I'm not trying to act like it. I do know that our budget cannot continue this.
And I'm just asking for clarity. I understand. So the compensation, so you're saying that we need to look at our compensation plan and restudy it?
Yes. And I don't mean go pay somebody $400,000 to come study it. I think that we are intelligent individuals and we can divide this work up. It was a lot for me to try to do before today, because I was going to go, there's not a person in my entire building of 400 people that make
What they make?
what we're paying. Not one. And I'm not trying to act like I'm in a great, fantastic employer or employment. I'm saying you can't go to Lazy Boy and make this kind of money. You can't go to Wheeler Gates. Nobody is making this kind of money. And so are we saying that, I don't want to insult anyone, I'm not attacking employees, but are we saying that half of our employees are worth more than anyone that can work anywhere else in this town? We're out of balance. That's
The
what I'm trying to say.
Johansson Group did the study.
Did
So
they-
did you get a copy of the study?
No, I did not, but did they study cities of our size?
That's usually how they do an apples-to-apples comparison. I don't think they included, you can clarify, but
I think they included quite a significant number of cities in the northwest area, including like Centerton and Bella Vista and not just.
balance it out.
Yeah.
I think reviewing the study, again, we could do that internally.
I don't want to get hateful, and I don't want to get specific because people get very angry at you. But for example, I'm just going to throw one out there, and you're going to get mad at me about it, and I'm going to say it. But when we have a fire department, how many firemen are in that fire department any given day? Are there 10, 12? And 5 of those 10 or 12 are in supervision. So we have people, I'm assuming, supervising 2 people, and we're paying them high level to supervise 2 people. I'm just trying to say that sometimes in our generosity, we spend too much money, way too much money. And I'm not a picket on the fire department. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm saying this board needs to understand we cannot sustain this kind of paying to our employees. Not keep adding employees every year, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, where our biggest expense, instead of, used to be the utility pay, when we paid for our power, that used to be the biggest expense, and it no longer is. We are out of balance. And if this board doesn't want to study that, then we won't. But I'm not going to be silent about it.
Well, I think I finally get what you're saying. You're saying you don't want to add any more until we look at what we have. That's what I wasn't getting. I thought maybe you thought this was about the raises, but it's not. It's about, do we want to add more employees? So let me ask the question then. If we vote this down, what happens? What happens? That we approved these people to be hired. So then what happens? They don't have to be in the compensation plan to get hired, do they?
I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm
You
not.
see what I'm saying? We've already approved them. The positions are approved.
Right.
The compensation is just a document that is a guiding document. So if we don't approve those positions, can the positions still be filled? Do you see, am I making sense?
I mean, from a financial perspective, they can, because we've included that salary in the budget based on the range that we were provided by JERHR. But if you don't approve the compensation plan, I don't know what the consequences for that are, because when I first started here, there was no compensation plan. And there wasn't up until, I don't know.
This is a guiding document. This is not
Yes.
an enforceable document. This can't
Correct.
enforce anything.
Right. I think it was just a request that the board review the compensation. I don't know.
Sometimes, when the board sees, and I'm making numbers up, where you see, let's use the inspector, where you see say 56,000 to 88,000, it doesn't mean that we're hiring them at 88,000.
No.
A lot of that's going to depend on their experience, on their education, and we're also putting those numbers what their fringes are, because we got to remember as a board, we used to pay all our employees, probably 300 employees, 6%. On 23, we went up to 12%. So you saw a big increase in 23, so a lot of that goes to fringes. So again, but it's helped us hire really good employees because we're able to pay, we're able to compete with other cities. Because right now, we are struggling to get an engineer. Kevin, we've had that out, 3 months? We've had one interview. And I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but
We've had the project engineer posted since sometime in July, and then the city engineer posted since mid-September, and we have gotten only one qualified applicant among both positions.
Kevin came to me and said, we may have to up this to get, I don't know if we can do that, but it's really hard to find these type of people. So when we hire our police chiefs, fire chiefs, finance managers, again, we are competing. And again, this is great conversation, and I get where you're coming from, but Chris has probably had 3 job offers since he's been here. I know Chief Miller's had 2, and I know there's a lot of other people are comped. We have these people are constantly calling on our employees, and I forget what they're called, but
Headhunters.
yeah, they're constantly calling, but they're happy with what we have. And again, are they the highest paid? No, but they're in the game. Again, Chief Miller is making probably $20,000 less than I was when I was police chief. Same with Chris, because guys had been here so long, they had built up those raises, and now they're starting out at that smaller window, and they were gradually work their way up. Just like Chief Kreiner, same thing. He was making a lot more than Dustin is, probably $20,000+. So we've showed a lot of savings by getting new department heads. And so again, I see where Mr. Long's coming from, but again, this compensation plan is just basically updating our book on what we approved in the budget.
Okay, so this is a resolution. It only requires 1 meeting. So why don't we put this off to the next meeting, wait for the election, and then if we need to, have some meetings to explain how this works? And
I'd be happy to have a workshop to sit down, because I think Mr. Long's asked that for a couple times, and I'm not against that. Again, a lot of things we're trying to put on here, we're trying to get to the end. It's kind of like the handbook. Listen, I didn't expect the handbook to get done at this next meeting. I figured it would get tabled, but I've got to get it before you. And I've looked at the history of this. What I've got is a one page, and I tried to make it really simple of everything that we are changing. Now, we can go back to the handbook and go back to the original copy, because this has been something I've worked on since I took the job. Christina, myself, and Misty have worked on this handbook for well over a year. Our handbook is just really, really out of date. No one here can remember the last time it was updated. It still talks about pagers. It still talks about just laws have changed. And what we do every year when we bring it to the board, we bring you a resolution of changes that we can add. So we can go back to the handbook and do nothing but the changes and bring you a resolution just for the changes. When I got here, it just needed a revamp.
Madam Mayor, Alan, part of the problem, I believe, was we didn't get a really good copy to where we could see where the changes were. And this might be fixed before the next time. I'm not going to consent. I'm just telling you ahead of time, I'm very uncomfortable. It feels like I had to move a mountain. I couldn't sleep last night. I had so this stuff on my plate, and I'm trying to say, when I am horribly uncomfortable, I'm going to tell you I'm horribly uncomfortable. And so if you want to talk about the handbook, I think some of the biggest problems was that we didn't get the I think that was some of the biggest changes. I don't know how many questions I have. I only really saw one that I wanted to address. But again, compensation plan, I have 100 things swirling in my mind, and in the handbook, I only have one. I get that you're trying to get these done. I get that we're trying to do it. Everybody's not here. That makes it less comfortable. But we have a job to do, and it is our job to pay very close attention, and I think that's what we're doing.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not trying to beat you up over the handbook. That is literally, I think, was just a technical thing at the last minute. But it would have been nice to be able to see, the line drawn through and then and in red the changes. And I know you'll do that before next Tuesday.
And we've tried it, and I get that, and I think Barbara tried to send it out. What has happened with that, it has been such a process. It has gone from me to Christina to Misty to meeting to attorney review 3 or 4 times, bringing it back to make sure what we're doing is lawful, going back. So a lot of times red lines got taken out, or hey, we're just going to take out this word, this misspelling, this is, so I get it. So I'll try to get you the
We're
best
in the
version.
very dead level middle of something that was brought up that I really like the idea of. And I have heard board members mention some software that would allow us to go and find agenda items and things. And this sounds like the same thing to me.
We had it.
Please, let's dive into that a little bit.
I'm sorry, we have, and I know as Ms. Director Blair has brought up to me, we've looked in this for about 6 months to a year. We actually have a transcribe in place. I can go right now and I can look at it. The problem is with the transcribe, we will have to change the way we do board meetings. Every time Director Wiles says something, he will have to say Ken Wiles, say his sentence, and then if Director Blair wants to say, she will have to, because when you go in there, it's just snippets, and I don't know who said what in the transcribe. So I've got Anthony looking into that, and Christine in the IT department to see if there's any AI out there to help clean this up. But you can go there now. We actually have a transcribing program, but it's just like us talking now. It'll have a date and time when everybody talks, and you don't know who it is. So we would have to change how we do meetings. Ms. Lisa?
Why did we stop Granicus? Because Granicus, I know it cost, but it had all the functionality in it. It did, it OCR'd our documents when we went out there. It also did transcribing. You could do automatic voting, everything. It did everything. And it transcribed. Why did we stop that service? You remember Granicus?
I remember Granicus, but I'm not sure exactly why we stopped doing Granicus. And I think that was under Philip Patterson, and I don't.
I know it cost, but sometimes a service that provides a valuable tool for citizens is worth the money.
Does it give you something more than speaker 1, speaker 2? Because a lot of the ones that we've looked
You
at.
can program it to do anything.
Lisa, could you pull that closer? I can't hardly understand you.
Yeah, it was completely automated. It was,
And we're deep diving, especially, our conversations at my eval, it's just something that was on my list, and I immediately worked on it the next day, and I've had meetings with staff a couple times, so we're trying to find the best way, and then Janae and Barbara both show me where things are transcribing, and I think what you guys are looking for, too, is more of a word search, that you get easier to kind of find.
Granicus did all that, every bit of it.
Well,
Maybe
could
we
I
need to go back
suggest,
to that.
Lisa, and you and whoever you would like to have there get together, I know nothing about this, but we do need a tool. And something's needed because of the not being able to quickly, and I realize it was last minute, and I don't want anyone out there thinking that I'm criticizing the employees, because I'm not. But at close to the last minute, we requested the original, I think this is accurate, the original handbook with the new change, with the things we were getting rid of crossed out and the new changes put in red, and we didn't get it. I'm not saying they had enough time. but we didn't get it. And so I'm saying very specifically, we needed that, and I think Lisa is saying, Becky and Lisa are saying there should be a program to allow us to do many, many things, and I would like very much that to be expedited.
But, okay, that's two different whole systems. So Microsoft allows you to note changes and versions, and so you can have versions and changes, and it would do your crossing out with your red characters or whatever you want. I know Microsoft is having issues right now. Good luck to all the businesses that are having to deal with it. I don't know when they're going to get that resolved, do we know? Because I know even companies are having issues with that, a lot of companies. Do you know what I'm talking about? Anybody know what I'm talking about?
I do.
We received an email from IT this morning saying Microsoft believes they have a solution in place now.
Oh, yeah, sometimes that takes a while. So it may be a while before you can even get that document, because you should have versioning on your system. So is that in Word that you guys created that? So you should have that versioning in there. And so once they get that resolved, but it might not be resolved by the next board meeting. It's going to be a Microsoft. There's so many issues that.
If that's the case, then I will want to table it. Again, we might be able to easily find a solution. Christie, I want to say, you do a wonderful job. Some of the biggest issues is you doing it legally and having the knowledge to do it, which you're fantastic at, versus our understanding of it. So there's a lot of times when you tell us something financially that comes across in accounting language that our ears don't hear. And so if I cross you and appear to be rude to you, it's not that. It's literally our communication gap.
So, I just wanted to get this from you, and what I've seen in the past two that I've gone back and looked is when we made handbook changes, it was done in the consent agenda. Again, this is a little more thorough because we've done such a deep dive cleanup, and a lot, like I've said, is Scribner errors and things that we don't even do anymore that we were doing in the 90s that was still in there in the early 2000s, and we're just cleaning that stuff up. Where we have new policy in the handbook really wasn't cleaned up, so they went and did a deep dive in that just to get it where everything's up to date. I just thought that was a good idea, and again, I get it, and we will try to get you that red line sheet. I think Ms. Barber tried to send that out today, but there's been several copies of that because it's been going back and forth. They'll see things, send it to me, I'll make changes. We've had meetings, so I will try to get that to you. But the major changes are on that one sheet that I gave you that was actually a change in our handbook or an addition. And Misty and Christina can both give you updates on that. It's just go into Empower and, our 457 and different things like that. So, but I'll try to get that. If I know she sent you, but if that's not working, we'll get you something.
So
And
you're going to try to have that to them before the meeting on the 3rd or the meeting on the 17th?
We can, and if we just want to have discussion, Mayor,
Okay.
We don't have to vote on anything. Say, hey, we need more discussion. If we need a workshop on that, we can do that also. I just want you to know I don't put things on consent. Again, like Director Long, when we're talking about utility commission, we had 2 applications for that. We had applicants. In law, I went and looked that up. My glasses on. State law, Arkansas Law 14-48-117, talking about the city administrator shall nominate subject to confirmation of board person to fill all vacancies at any time occurring in any office or employment, board authority or commission to which the board appointment power extends. He or she may remove from office. So basically what that law says, it gives me complete authority. The way our policy is.
Wait, does that not say with board approval?
With it has
See,
to come.
that's us voting.
But it has to come to the board. And my point is, what our policy says does not match the law. It added the mayor in there. and the mayor isn't mentioned in here. So our policy,
Pull that up, you're cutting out. I don't want to get in a debate with the legal.
Right. So,
legalese.
again,
We can talk that personal. I'm just saying, we can discuss that in private if you'd like.
Okay. so again, that's just, clean up, trying to get it to you. So any other questions there? All right, moving to renewal of museum operations management services agreement, museum, thanks. Museum for $70,000. That contract has to come before you because it's over my spending limit.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Is there any changes from last year?
Sir.
Thank you.
Resolution 52-24, employee handbook, we've had that discussion. Resolution 53-24, settlement litigation, Blake Jones. That's just giving the board has to give her the authority to go into a possible agreement. And had any questions there?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
When you were speaking about the laws, and we can talk about this later, I'm just going to throw it out. Isn't that what we do for you? Don't we give you the authority to and this is not against the mayor, I'm not attacking it. Is that not the state statute that we give you the authority to represent this board in legal matters?
To be honest, I thought it was, but after talking to legal counsel, it looks like that authority, I will be there with the mayor, but you give her the authority on a certain amount that she's able to authorize. In this case, I was a police chief at that time. My recommendation is 0, because our officers were, I think, 100% right on that, but.
I didn't gather an amount.
I don't remember, Miss Judy, do you remember if they talked to you or Chief Miller on that?
No. Jay
Again,
has-
I'm out of that, so he's in those negotiations more than I am.
Chief Miller, Police Department. Basically, what they're looking for is just like any contract. When it comes to the legal representation of the city in a contract and a legal settlement, is basically treated like contract law. And that refers to the mayor to be able to have that. So what they're looking for the board to do is give her the authority to make a settlement contract.
Well,
In
for
from
example, it's
0
quite easy.
to-
It's quite easy for us to say $5,000, but I would not say yes to 5 million. And so I didn't see a
Correct.
number.
And that's the direction that the board has to provide the mayor, is we're willing to settle from 0 to 5,000, 10,000, whatever your cap would be. And then she would have that discretion with the city administrator there to
I know we don't want to give away our stance, but no,
I don't
I have
care. It's
no
0.
idea.
I don't think we give them anything, but
I know it
this
is
is
that.
part of the process that we have to take through federal court, is we have to go to a settlement hearing.
and if we say, let's just, for example, we say 0, that's enough, she can go and negotiate and,
Say 0. And she just has to be able to say that on the city's behalf as being the only one that can approve contracts.
And a lot of this is to Mr. Director Long, too, is we're covered under AML for so much amount. It's, again, we're covered under their insurance for that.
Yeah, make sure, I want to make sure everyone understands that the administrator's going to be there. You're giving me the authority to be there and act on your behalf. Jay Williams will be there. Chief will be there. I mean, there are certain people that are required per the court to be at this Zoom conference, and that's what it will be. It will be a Zoom conference. So, but per the judge, someone that represents this city, which, the mayor is usually the one that signs what you all have passed, looked at as the chief elected official, so it says in the law, but that's beside the point. The point is that they say, the court says, there has to be someone that represents the city that can say yes, no, this amount, that amount, at that conference. It can't be, okay, well, I have to go back to my board and see what they're going to vote. That's not going to get it, according to what we've been told.
But if we
So if you say
If we say
zero,
zero, they'll know, you're going to walk in the door and they're going to know we said zero.
well, that's just
Well,
what we
I mean,
have to do.
I don't know your guys' procedures. That may be something that you can do in an executive session and then come back and say that you've given her direction. I don't know, but, but that's what.
She
they're
could
looking-
individually poll us, but we do it out here. If we do it in there, we got to do it out here. Unless it's her we're reprimanding, and I don't even know if we can do that.
Can the board give me, do you guys remember if you were given a copy of that lawsuit? Have you guys had a chance to look it over? I don't remember, to be honest.
Is it the one that I watched the videos about?
Yes.
Okay. I don't recall if we were ever given when that
I
actually.
don't recall.
I'll find out if we can do that, because again, again, you've talked to me about it. This is one that I feel very, very strongly about. That it's we just got a lawsuit just 2 weeks ago that we just filed AML, and they're giving us coverage. Nowadays, people can sue you for anything. We got the Lockhart, so we were actually bringing two to you this time to give the mayor authority, but that one has
And appealed.
I think I got continuance or something on it.
It got another appeal filed on it on our behalf.
Right. So again, that's what this is, but it's just kind of how we've done it in the
I
past.
don't want everyone to think that it's just, I have been reading lately, the authority that we've given you, and I'm surprised, I guess, because of our unusual, that you're not who we appoint in all situations, because we are in employment, and you listed some things a minute ago. And I'm not trying to doubt Judy. I hesitate to want to say an amount, and I don't know if we should, as a board, decide to let her poll us, if we should leave it open-ended. But the problem is, if she says $1 million, she's committed to it. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying, if she says it at that court, that's what she's committed. We don't get to say no.
And again, Mr. Long, I think with Jay can give us the legal on that. Come Tuesday, can answer those questions for us. So I think that may be easier for the board. Again, when I first did it, because I was the one where I came from, that I had that authority. But under the way Arkansas does it, I was told that Judy would have that authority because you're giving it to her. So we'll double check with Jay on Tuesday, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I do have a question. Do we have anything where our attorney stands? And who's the representing attorney? Is it AML or Jay?
AML, what I've done since I've been here, I've asked Jay to stay on top of all our lawsuits where we have a backup. Because what has happened, this case was going on, I think it was after I took this seat, this lawsuit's been going on for a while. AML had an attorney that I felt really good with. Now that attorney who was with us for a year is no longer with AML, so they just gave us a new attorney, about 2 months ago, Chief? So again, we're trying to get her spun up with the case, and hey, this is, because that attorney said, hey, we feel really good about this, we don't think you've done anything wrong, and now we have a new attorney. So now I also have Jay.
And what's the new attorney saying?
So everybody's in agreement that we are well within our authorities. We haven't violated any rights. This is one of those legal due process things, especially because the individual is representing himself. So they're going to go through every single loop of every single process for this individual. But everybody's pretty confident that we have followed all the laws and no 1983 Act lawsuits can be filed or anything like that, because no constitutional rights were violated.
Questions? Okay. Moving on to contracts and approvals. The first one is contract Washington Street Sidewalk, Diamond C Construction. Kevin?
Thank you, Kevin Moore, Public Works. Staff is recommending approval of contract to Diamond C Construction for $260,760.54. They were the low bid on this project. This is a TAP grant project, and so the city will be paying a 20% match for the majority of it. It did go over that matching amount. The final cost to the city is expected to be a little over $63,000. You have it in your memo. This is, you will see on the contract, it labeled as Lake Francis and Washington Street. Due to when this was first applied for back in 2021, it was going to be a combined project, and then it was separated to allow the street to enter construction first. So this is from, this is only along Washington Street from Lake Francis to Highway 412.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mark?
So have we vetted Diamond C? Because there has been quite a bit of concern about some of the contractors that we have and been unpleased. Have we called our neighbors and previous employee, people who have contracted with them?
We've used Diamond C in the past for similar projects, even state-funded pedestrian projects, and we've had no issues.
That being said, so what is our punishment? And I realize it's in the street, it's sidewalk. Well, is it $100? What I read was $100 a day if they don't complete it in time.
For this project, yes.
I don't like that's what happened. Maybe we can live a little longer without sidewalks, but I want some teeth. Alan, I would like some teeth at the end of our contracts. $100 a day is not.
This, to address that a little bit, this is not punishment to the contractor for the contract going long. It's compensation to the city based off of our expected costs if the contract goes long.
Call it what you want. I want them to have to hurry up or it really hurt them.
Yes, Lisa?
Are you saying there's legal boundaries about how much we can charge them?
That's correct. Under liquidated damages, it has to be, we define it in the contract, but it has to be relatable in the real world. We can't just choose a large number.
And we're having Jay's doing the research on that. I think we would be comfortable where our current, for the larger projects, are 250. We're going to be moving that to 500.
Yes, and for the next item, for our street projects, it is 500 a day. But again, since this is just sidewalk.
We can't really set that amount. We have to do what the law will allow us, and that's where our attorney feels comfortable that we would be legally justified. So it would double.
In the real world, we get to hold back payment. Can we do that? Hold back the final?
Yes, we withhold
5%?
5% as, we withhold 5% as retainage throughout the project. It's not paid until after we've accepted the job.
Is that the lowest or the highest legal amount?
Yes, that they're entitled to 95% of their pay. That's state law.
Prior to completion, they're entitled to 95%.
That's correct. So we do actually a 10% retainage for the first half of the project and then lock it in so that it's 5% of the overall project. So it kind of muddies the water around that a little bit, but
Don't lose me. They get paid 95% of the pay prior to even being 60% completed.
no, I apologize. So they get paid only for what is done, and they only receive 95% of that cost. So if they put in 100 feet of sidewalk, and then they put in for payment for that, they get 95% of what that 100 feet was bid at.
When do we pay that? I know we're talking about sidewalk, but I'm talking about the street, really. You know that. So they're 60% done with the street. How long can we hold 65% of their pay, or what, you know what I mean? How long can we not pay them for if they're not finishing it?
We hold it until they complete the project. So, for example, on Lake Francis, we have 5% of that project set aside as retainage that the contractor will not receive until we accept that project.
How much of the total 95% left have we paid them?
I'd have to go back and look and see what they've been paid to this point. But
Guess, I won't hold it to you. Guess.
that was about a $2.2 million contract. I think they've been paid for maybe $1.5 million.
Oh, so we are holding money.
Yes, they've not completed the work, and so we've not paid them for we've only paid them for what's been completed, and we've only paid them 95% of that because we hold the rest until the end.
All right, I'm getting lost. So they do $2 million job. They do $1 million worth of job, but they stop working for 60 days. After that 60 days, before that 60 days, are we holding back from paying them the 60% or we owe them $1 million, but they're not done. Are we paying them $1 million? And then they just don't get the money they didn't use?
So we've only paid them, so they've done, call it $1.5 million worth of work. We've withheld 110,000 or so in retainers. So we've only paid them 1 million and
400,000.
yeah.
And that's what I'm looking for.
And
Can
we
we
hold that
not
until
hold
the end.
that longer? Is that illegal? Alan, is that illegal to hold that money? That's where we're messing up. We're paying them and if they don't do more work, we don't owe them money. So
They've not fully collected what they've, for
5%.
the work that they've done. That's correct. So, and they will not receive that until we accept the job at the end of the project. It doesn't matter how long it goes. They're not entitled to that retainage after a certain amount of time. We only release it once they complete the project and we have approved it.
They turn in, they get out and they have to pay for the asphalt, they have to pay for their workers, have to pay for so they're turning in bills for what they've completed. There's money held back that they won't be given till the completion of the project, I think is what Kevin's trying to say.
Yes, that's correct.
And we cannot increase that amount or time.
That's something we'd be happy to look into. You know, right now, the biggest issue, we're talking about Lake Francis, is just the completion of the job. We're over 100 days now. I don't remember the exact number.
But a few hundred here or even $50,000 that we're holding back is not going to convince them to do that. Whereas had we held 25% back, and I know I'm getting into the hairy law, but if we would have held, oh no, you're a month behind, we're paying a month behind, because Walmart, for example, pays 45 days behind. If they owe you the whole amount, you don't get it for 45 days till later. So
Right. And I'm not sure again, I've been doing this a long time, but I don't know if we've run into the delays that we've had with this company right now. When you're looking at 250, Kevin, you remember top of your head, I think last time I checked, it's $20,000+. Let's just say 25. I'm not accurate on that, but just say $25,000 in fines that they owe us right now. Once we go to 500, they would actually be owing us $50,000 in fines. So we're actually doubling that. Plus, we have money that we will not pay them till completion of the job. Like Kevin's saying, it's like 1.5 million right now.
Yes, and the damages, they will never get paid back. So we withhold the retainage temporarily until it's done, but the damages, they will never see. That will be removed from our payment on the contract.
I'm not questioning that you did a good job. I'm just saying, if we can be more harsh towards the end, please, let's figure out a way to be more harsh. You can start to tell when they're delaying, and we can kick in the harsh.
That's something we'll be happy to look into. We'll see, we'll have conversation. Any other questions? All right, Kevin, Sager Creek additions, rebuilds, First Star Construction.
Thank you. Yes, we only received one bid on this project from First Star Construction in the amount of $1,997,586. Since there was only the one bid, we included our engineer estimate as well, just to prove those numbers out. This is over budget for the year, so if you'll notice, we rolled some of the money into next year's budget. But the total amount originally budgeted for this project was $1,855,000. And so we're proposing using the close to $142,000 difference from other capital projects this year.
Given what would happen if we chose not to do this and we put decided not to do this project?
That money would go either into reserves or into street designated accounts.
There's no way for me to say this without upsetting people, but one of the biggest things that I have discovered during this election process is how upset people are in this town about our streets. I am not in any way trying to say that the Byrd streets don't need done, but I think there are some streets that the public would appreciate much more. There was some discussion of us getting together and maybe talking about the street plan, and I feel like the citizens are very upset about our street process. And I'm not trying to attack anyone. I'm not trying to say the people on the Byrd streets don't deserve the streets. I just feel like that we would be better suited to possibly, since this is over budget, to delay this and maybe combine this one with another project, which might get a better bid if it was a larger project. You know, you combine this with some other thing. And I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that, but I would like to suggest it.
And again, I've had conversations with Kevin. We will be coming to the board. What you budgeted for next year, those streets will not be done, and I kind of made that clear. We are going to look at priority streets. Staff's recommendation, they believe Byrd is a priority right now. It's something that was budgeted out of the 23 budget for 24, and we're just getting to it late. So for next year's money, the streets that were picked, they're important. They're just not priorities what we need, and we need to focus on that. And this last year, we've been hammering away at streets, and that's one of my priorities, and we will continue to do that as a staff. So hopefully can't make a promise, but hopefully in January, we'll be coming to the board, just talking. This year, we have 2 meetings left. I mean, this year's kind of gone. We'll have to talk about the master street plan. And we actually did that last year, and we know Airport Road, and there's a lot of different streets that need to be done, but we had to put that on hold to see the results of annexation, to see if, Judge Mooring will partners with, but there's a lot of roads we have to look at. So I'm very aware that, because I get probably the same calls that you get, and this is something that's been streets, as the board knows, streets and sidewalks have been one of my priorities. And I think we've hit it hard in the last year, and we will continue to do that. Other discussion? Our next one is contract sanitation, waste to energy project study. And board, I don't know if Janae was able to, if you guys got to see your email, there was an issue in the packet where it said it was going to be reserves. That should have said utility reserves. I just missed that. So if this is approved, it would be coming from utility reserves.
Jason Davis, Public Service. So I'm here to answer any questions about the waste energy study. It's something we've been looking
Gasification,
at. Huh?
Gasification, right?
No, not necessarily. This study will look at gasification, incineration, pyrolysis, and figure out what's the best for the area. So,
If I may, Jason, just real quick, Director, I think when we were calling things gasification, I think we were confusing people. It's just gasification. So we want to do a study to show people if the study comes back, it's not gasification, what is our next step? So that's why I wanted to change that to a waste energy study to see what fits our city the best. So it will touch on all 3 of those.
right.
Yes, Lisa.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Betsy.
No, you can go. It's fine.
Okay. Since we are looking at this process and it affects so many people, it would save a lot of people in this area,
Yes, ma'am.
especially in Northwest Arkansas, a lot of money. Is there anybody willing to contribute? I mean, like, I know we've spoken to Dees and Torres and Penzo. do they have any funding that they have offered up, or any county or any?
It's a good question. I think everybody's waiting to see the study. Like, I haven't had anybody really want to give any money till they want to see that Siloam is really interested and invested in it, right? Once we get the study completed, we'll be able to go and talk with some of these people and see what they can do. I recently looked into Spokane, Washington. They've had a plant since 1991, and the state actually funded over half of that plant. So again, until I'm able to get some numbers and look at it, I don't know, to be honest with you.
Do they seem interested, though, especially at the state level?
I'm not going to lie to you. It's hard to get some of the higher ups to get on the phone with or meet face to face, but local state reps and stuff, we've had several interest in that. Steve Unger has met up with me, I don't know how many times, and calls me on the phone, and we speak regularly about waste energy projects and things like that. So I do have a lot of support on the local level.
Okay.
The higher state level, I've not been able to speak to too many people
It
about.
hasn't just been Representative Unger, it's been our representative too. We've had discussions.
Oh,
with
yes.
Tyler, we've had
Randy
discussion with
Dees.
Randy and.
Yeah, Tyler Dees. And Penzo, this actually helps Penzo because the Tawnytown dump issue.
Exactly.
And Robin Lundstrom's in that area, too.
Yes,
So-
and we've met with her as well.
But we don't know what we need, and then if, let's just say we went into incineration or gasification, there's people out there, if we didn't want to incur that cost, there's people that say, hey, we'll build this for you and split the cost. There's a lot of, before we even go there, we got to just see what, if the board wants to do that, to see what fits best for our community.
I was actually wondering if they wanted to contribute to the study, but it'd be nice if they contributed it on the other end, too. But, so none of them have been willing to contribute to the study.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it is, the ones that do want to don't have that much money to. Benton County Solid Waste District, they spoke with us. They were going to try to do something, but unfortunately, their budget wouldn't allow it. So, but I have had a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of interested parties. There's a few big names that I really don't want to say right now because of, where we're at in this, but it'd be game-changing for us, so.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah, Betsy, did you have something?
Yes, I did.
Okay, Betsy, and then Ken, I'll come to you.
So I'm a bit confused on a few things. So you went over gasification, explained it really well. We did PowerPoints. I understand, well, as much as you can understand it. I understand that. But that's not what we're looking at now. I mean, it's only one piece of several things.
Yes, ma'am.
So a few different questions. So then if this group says, oh, gasification is the way to go, then does that mean we have to go back and do another study like we were going to do originally?
No, ma'am. This will cover all of it. This is a waste to energy study. So the reason that we added the incineration and pyrolysis and wanting to do the gasification, have them figure out what's best for the area, as Mr. Long has brought up in the past, what's our waste like in this area? Is it wet? Is it dry? Do we need this? Do we need that? So each one of these kind of act a little bit different with higher heats and different outputs. So to figure out what's best for us in this area, we have to have a study done to figure out what kind of waste we're bringing in, and then the percentages of that waste that are being brought into us that can be broke down into different things.
So then I don't know anything about incineration and pyrolysis. Are they going to be as financially beneficial to the citizens
So
as gasification?
Let me give you
And the
an example.
environment and other towns and all of that?
Right. Let me give you an example. We were going to kind of save some of this information for the actual agenda meeting, but Spokane, Washington, they're doing 800 tons of MSW a day, which is municipal solid waste, which is about what we were wanting to do. With that 8 million, they're producing 22 megawatts of power, which is enough to power 13,000 homes in Spokane. So yes, we'll still be able to get stuff, but the difference between gasification and incineration is the heat temperature and your byproduct. With incineration, there's no byproduct. With gasification, you have a byproduct, whether that be jet fuel or coal or, whatever we go with. So that's what this study will do. We'll say, in your area, we see a high demand for jet fuel, and we think that you can make more money going with a gasification with a jet fuel option. Or they may say incineration because your area has this or that, so.
So incineration is just creating power. I mean, that's the
Yes.
product, that's it. How about
Yes.
pyrolysis, is that what you called it?
Pyrolysis, it's almost an in-between of the two. So pyrolysis deals a lot more with pressure, and then it takes in a lot more wood and C&D material for pyrolysis. So it's a little bit different, but with Siloam and having the limbs and the mulch and things that we do have in this area, we'd be able to put that in and mix it in with the feedstock.
Okay. You mentioned something about a meeting or sharing it. You said you were only going to share this, but you'll go ahead and say a little. When were you going to share a lot?
We were wanting to set it at the agenda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that way the public could hear it, that we're listening, so.
No, that'd be great, because I know a lot of the public is
Exactly.
very interested
Exactly.
in that. So I noticed on here, the bid you went with was 275 from the process group, but that isn't listed on your bid tab. Like there's 273, 243, 218, TPG Olson. It's not listed.
Okay.
So I'm like, where did,
Yeah, I just overlooked it, I'm sure.
and it's the most expensive bid.
So the other ones we didn't get the bids on, we go with our grading, and we figure out who we want to go with based on the grading of the companies that put in for it. Then once we pick that, then we go in the negotiation with their pricing.
So it doesn't have to do with who's the lowest bid? Okay.
It was who we felt was the most qualified and going with their proposals.
Okay. Before, wasn't Black and Beach on here?
They didn't submit.
Okay. So then do the process group and Olson Engineering, they would just be part of the study? They wouldn't be part of
Just study.
any, after that, building,
No, actually,
engineering?
they would like to be.
Okay.
They told me they would. They also would like to help with grant opportunities for the plan as well. They've done several grants, and they know which grants to go after, and they can help us get those submitted as well. That was another really good positive, I thought, with TPG.
And if I may, directors, if you guys look back a few months ago, the company we ended up going with was the one that actually came in and did the presentation. At that time, I pulled it. We just had some I's to dot and T's to cross on some things. And so we did that. So I just wanted to do the process again to make sure we did everything correctly. And I feel that has been done, and that's where we're at now. And I will, in this, you don't have a contract in front of you. Hopefully I'll have that to you tomorrow. I've been trying to get it this week. It's just an attorney review, but I thought this was very important to get to you, so you should have that by the holidays.
Ken?
Oh, thank you. I was just going to maybe help answer Lisa's question. I've been very fortunate to work with Jason on this project for a year now or so. Of course, there's a lot of local support. We've gotten a call from Little Rock that we are trying to get in touch with somebody from the division of, what did I say, the division?
Department of Environmental
Yeah,
Quality.
the Department of Environmental Quality.
ADEQ.
Yes.
So we're working with them, and we are also waiting. We've been told we will be contacted by Senator Bozeman's office to discuss opportunities and options. And we think it's because of the holidays. We're hopeful it's because of the holidays that we have not heard from them just yet, but we've been told that he will be reaching out, or his office will be reaching out and discussing this with us as well. So to answer your question, yes. But Jason is right, they're waiting to see what the final cost is. We have been told that. But at the same time, we have been told that there is money out there. They're just not committing to it, or they're not committing to what form that might be available. So they're just kind of keeping things close to their chest until we get this study completed.
Right.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mark?
I want to publicly say that I believe it was in '23 that Ken, I was nowhere near this board or interested in this board. Ken was very involved and very excited about this project. He has been a key, integral part of this, and I want to thank him publicly for caring so much. And, you know, obviously, you're doing it together. I'm not trying to say it's not you. I'm just saying Ken has very much took the lead on this, and I really appreciate the extra effort and the detail you give it. Thank you.
I have to concur. Ken's been great to work with, and he's been very supportive in helping with this project.
Any other questions? All right, moving on to, thank you, Jason. Moving on to K, Chief Kendall, Fire Department, Siddons Martin Emergency Group.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, Board, Dustin Kendall, Fire Chief. So before you guys, I was just going to say, for this rescue pumper that we were looking for with the approved 2025 budget, we have the ability to sign a contract with Pierce, the manufacturer of the truck that we've had spec'd out. And we have two options for that contract. One is to prepay for the truck and save about $121,000. Or we could pay on delivery and pay the full price of the truck. So I was just going to leave that with you all and see what your recommendation was and what your direction for us to go with, whether we prepay or pay on delivery.
And you said how much was the savings?
The savings was going to be $121,732.
Directors, Mark?
You know I'm going to say this, so obviously this is over budget, right? By how much?
We had budgeted 1.1 in our original, I think we put 1.1 in there, Christina, is that correct?
You know, I'm not looking for exact numbers, but didn't you tell us 800 and,
For a non-custom truck, so one that's not spec'd out and built custom for our needs. Roughly around $800,000 for a pumper.
is what at budget time we were considering, right? This is an unusual vehicle, and you know I'm not afraid to come out here and say, hey, listen, this is wasteful, but I don't believe this is a wasteful, this is indeed needed. It is probably more than I want it to be, but it is indeed needed. I, for one, you'd have to look at the finances, and that's a different question, but I think the prepay is the smarter bet, the more financial savvy way to go, although short-term, a little harder. So that's my opinion. I will say that tomorrow night. I think that saving the 100 and, did you say 140? Is puts us back closer to the original that was in the budget, I don't remember, 860, I can't remember, but it puts us much closer to that number, which is kind of our accountability or our responsibility. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I guess I agree. If you're wanting guidance, I agree. Prepaying sounds like the better option.
Okay, good deal.
Me
Thank you.
too.
Appreciate it.
And is this offer, or this amount that you have here, that is the prepaid amount, is that correct?
Yeah, it'll be $1,044,020.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Moving to resolutions. The first one's 5524, significant development permit, 3879 Highway 412, McDonald's.
I think we were going to get a comment on the prepay, were we not?
I'm sorry, my mind was over here. Go ahead.
So ordinance number 24-34 is, during the budget, we included additional funds for board members for the meetings, for what we pay you for meetings. And so this ordinance is just to increase each board member's pay by $300 per month.
Madam Mayor? And
Yes.
just to qualify that, those are for the board meetings only, no pre-agenda. Directors don't get paid per meeting.
Correct, we're just, the.
Right.
yeah.
I'm just clarifying because that's state statute.
Correct.
Board members can only get paid for actual board meetings.
Yes.
Correct, and this is something that and I apologize, I was looking at my agenda using policy group and look at that, so thank you. One of the things we're trying to hear is trying to get this passed. I know the board said they would be possibly willing to do the first, second reading. We're still going to have to do an emergency to get it done this year. I don't know if the board would consider doing all three readings. It's still trying to get it done by January 1st. Janae, am I hitting that right? Is there anything to add?
No. It would have to be done in an emergency clause to get this done by the end of the year. If we don't get that done by the end of the year, then it won't go into effect for all board members and the mayor.
And the mayor it wouldn't go during her term. It would be
Correct.
the
4
next
years
term.
later.
No,
Thank
I
you.
think that covered it.
All right.
Madam Mayor, I did have a question about that. Betsy asked, I was under the impression that part of the reason for your desiring to increase the pay a little bit for board directors in particular was to maybe encourage attendance at the pre-agenda meetings, and that there was going to be pay for pre-agenda, a little bit of pay, and then just a little raise for the board meetings. But now it looks like it's just going to be an increase for board meetings.
That was my hope, but Miss Betsy is correct. It's board meetings, but again, you're still being paid an additional, let's say it's $300 a month. You've still got workshops, you still got pre-agendas, so it's more, it's an incentive, but the only way to actually do it legally is to increase the per meetings.
Per meetings, okay. And I've said before that I don't feel the need for a raise. It's not something that I'm going to argue with or demand. That would seem kind of strange. I demand no raise. But just on the record that I don't particularly feel the need for a raise, but I will support whatever the board and the staff feel is best. So thank you.
I've said that before. I know the board does this because they care about their city and no one's looking for that. But this is something that hasn't happened in a long time. I think that the board deserves it. I think there's so much more that goes on as a board member that is required in different meetings. And again, this isn't just now when the board decides not to run. I'm hoping we'll be able to bring other people in to be more interested in this government and represent their city.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Betsy.
Just, state statute does not allow us to be paid per board or per meeting.
Additional
Even if we, right, even if we increase board meetings, I assume probably somewhere along the way, people have said, let's have more meetings so we can increase our pay. So it is state statute that we get paid for 2 meetings a month. That is all we can get paid for.
And I understand, that's what Alan had just explained too. Initially, I know when this was first being brought up, there was talk of maybe it being an extra incentive for a pre-agenda meeting, so.
Yeah.
I assume that was probably the case. I just kind of wanted to come back and make sure that I was understanding it correctly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, board. All right, moving on to the ordinance 2435, first reading amending City Municipal Code, Chapter 6, alcoholic beverages, allowing Sunday alcohol sales.
Thank you, Mayor, or thank you, excuse me, thank you, Alan. Mayor, I have a slide for this, and I just want to say that I did draw the short straw on this one. I am going to just be providing information on this item. The referendum was an item on the November 5th general election, which called upon the voters of Siloam Springs to determine if alcohol should be eligible for sale in Siloam Springs on Sunday. Of 5,903 votes cast, 3,483, which is approximately 59%, voted, actually, it's exactly 59%, voted in favor of Sunday alcohol sales. The ordinance revision strikes language from the City of Siloam Springs Code, which would prohibit Sunday alcohol sales, and revisions now reflect the recent referendum vote that authorizes Sunday alcohol sales. The ordinance identifies hours of operation, which is consistent with typical restrictions for other days of the week. Attorney review has determined that the code revision would bring the code into compliance with the will of the voting majority. Staff recommendation is to approve the ordinance, and staff also recommends combining all three readings to ensure that the ordinance is in compliance with the referendum vote.
Thank you, Chris. Janae, is there anything you need to add to make sure that we meet the deadlines by law?
No, we've had several businesses that are reaching out. They are wanting a December 22nd start date. The only way to accomplish that would be to either do this on the first reading and then second and third and do an emergency clause. It's basically housekeeping. It's cleaning this up so that the city can get started. And I've had several businesses that are reaching out wanting to know at what point we can get this approved and get it going.
What is the timeline? Like, what's the date it has to be done by? And let's pretend we're in a board meeting right now and we voted all three. When would it go into effect?
I would just start by stating that this would need an emergency clause, so it would go into effect immediately.
Okay, so, and is there a timeline that we, by law, to make it all compliant, that we have to have this done?
Not that I'm
Was
aware
it
of.
30 days that we were talking about?
I don't believe there's a law that says that we have to have this done within a certain amount of time. I know that what a lot of these businesses are doing are trying to get it in line with the other cities in the area that have this start date of December 22nd, because several do not have ordinances that prevent them from beginning. And so they're trying to keep all of these dates kind of in line with each other. And so to be able to hit that December 22nd date, we wouldn't have enough time if we did all three readings. And then we have to, after that third reading, we have to post it in the paper for a 30-day, it has to be on publication, and this ordinance would not go into effect until 30 days after publication. So we're looking at, if we did three readings, you're looking at what, about 45 days, plus then another 30 days on top of that. I mean, these businesses are looking at 65-plus days possibly before they could begin their Sunday alcohol sales.
Without the emergency clause.
Without
So,
the emergency
but the
clause.
emergency clause
Correct. With the emergency
makes
clause,
it happen
it gets it
immediately.
happening. We can have this ready, and by December 22nd, all the businesses, whether it's here or other cities, are set in line to go at the same time.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mindy?
if this is a vote that's the will of the people and it came out the way it did, what could possibly, I know we like three readings for the public to be able to provide input, but the public has already sort of provided their input at this point. So what could potentially change in three readings?
I don't think anything would change. Like I said, I believe it's just, this at this point is just a housekeeping to get this cleaned
Right.
up and through and began without having to go
I-
through the three readings.
Yeah, and I
the
guess what
waiting.
I'm saying is,
I don't believe there would be anything that would prevent it, because like you said, the people have spoken, so it's going to go through. It's just whether or not it's going to go through in 65 days versus whether it's going to be able to go through and be in effect and start sooner.
right. It feels like the people have said what they want, and I'm not sure what kicking it down the road is going to do. But then again, I mean, I don't want to be willy-nilly with ordinances, so I don't know. What do the other board members feel like on this? Okay.
I don't like reading anything three readings in a row, but sometimes it's required because there's laws, or, for example, the thing we were talking about a few minutes ago, if we don't do it before January 1st, then she literally has to work an entire term before the mayor would see that, and I don't want that to occur. So there is a pretty big financial reason that you're harming someone. This, however, is, I mean, it's almost a moral issue if we, why would we want to hurry up? I mean, I realize the voters said what they said, and we have legal requirements, but the president doesn't go in until the 18th or whatever date it is, so they don't hurry it up. So I'm not prepared to, have any desire to hurry.
But it is a financial thing for the people that are wanting to start selling alcohol on Sundays. It's a financial thing for them.
But it doesn't put it off 4 years if we wait 65 days. It puts it off 65 days,
No, and I
which is the ordinance
yeah, I was
process.
just curious what other people, so thank you.
If not, we will move on to resolutions. First one is 5424, significant development permit, 3879 Highway 412 East, McDonald's. Miss Megan?
Thank you. Megan Thomas, Planner 1. I have a slide for this. Okay, there we go. This is a significant development request located at 3879 Highway 412 East. The applicant is requesting to construct a 3,694 square foot McDonald's quick service restaurant on Lot 3 of the Siloam Station Retail Edition. This is the first development in the Siloam Station Retail Edition. The applicant is proposing driveways. Oh, I had a site plan, sorry, I forgot. That's actually not in this slideshow. We will get that emailed over to y'all so that you guys can see the site plan for it. Sorry, we'll have that at the board meeting for it on Tuesday. The applicant is proposing drives onto the private loop street, that's Siloam Station Drive within the subdivision, and they are not proposing any drives onto Highway 412. They will also have cross access along the frontage of their lot to allow access to the lot to the west of them. They are providing ample parking, and the development will also construct a sidewalk along Highway 412 frontage with crosswalks connecting to the McDonald's building to allow better pedestrian mobility. The Planning Commission and staff are recommending approval of this request with no conditions needed, and staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Any question?
No questions. We'll move on to Resolution 5524, significant development permit, Highway 412. That's 4295 Highway 412, Jiffy Trip Diesel.
Sorry, this thing is just so high for me. I don't like it. Okay. This is a significant development request located at 4295 Highway 412 East. The applicant is requesting to expand on the existing Jiffy Trip development to add 4 new diesel fuel pumps and a canopy to the north of their existing structure. They do own that portion of the lot. It is part of their overall lot. The applicant is proposing a new driveway onto Highway 59 as well. That's shown on the site plan here. The new driveway is intended to serve the semi-truck traffic, and it's kind of intended to separate the semi-trucks from the standard vehicles, pedestrian vehicles, and stuff like that. The applicant has stated that no overnight parking will be permitted on this, so that's not a concern. Additionally, they will be preserving some of the trees in the south, actually all of the trees, that's to the west, all the trees to the west of the property to serve as a buffer between them and the residential use to the west. The Planning Commission and staff are recommending approval with one condition needed, and staff's available for any questions that you may have.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So first question, as I look at that picture, drainage going on to the Butler's property? Where's drainage going? You had to know that was coming.
By at least 3 of us.
That's correct. Kevin Moore, Public Works.
I hope it's not going that way.
Well, this site does drain to the west. We made the applicant aware of the issues in that area at our pre-application meeting, and they've done a lot of work with the detention pond that they're proposing to make sure that does not make the issue any worse. I've met with the Butlers out there as well to kind of walk them through what this project would look like, and they were pretty comfortable with the things that we had discussed. So the proposal does not go all the way west, so it's actually leaving the majority of that wooded area intact, and their detention pond will drain into that wooded area as the site does today.
Okay. The other thing, that area is already a mess. If I'm headed west on 412 and I just automatically get in the left lane because I know somebody out at Jiffy Trip is going to pull out right in front of me and try to have an accident. And now we're looking at semis and just going, is there anything that can make that area, it's growing more dangerous by adding this? Is there anything to do to make it less dangerous?
That's something that the state will be looking at, so that they are proposing improvements to that corridor from 412 all the way north to the Missouri line. So that intersection is part of that study area. The driveway that they're adding is more or less strictly for the diesel fueling station because the trucks can't make the turn to the other existing driveway. And there is enough space for the truck to stack to try and enter the highway without blocking that cross access that's north and south between Atwoods and Jiffy Trip. So that they've accommodated the site flow from that standpoint. And then, of course, this driveway will be further away from that intersection than any of the existing driveways are.
Yeah. Okay.
If I can jump in for just a second.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything legal that we can do to stop this, but I promise you it's going to be, it's already a mess, and it will be a giant mess when you have 18-wheelers going in there. It is not a safe intersection. All the way around, it's not safe. And the only safe turn is a right turn out of all exits, and they're not going to do that. And so you're not ever going to create, they're not going to create a way for a left turn out of either location to work. It's not going to happen. Engineers aren't going to come up with a way to do that. And so it will be a problem for a long time. I don't see how we can legally stop it, but it will be a giant problem.
Yes, Betsy, and then Ken, I'll come to you. I'm sorry, Lisa. Sorry, ladies.
I want to go back to the drainage a little bit. You said it's going to go west, and it's draining down into the 412 drainage. Do you know what I'm talking about in that area? Because maybe Alan, when we walked the property, when we walked it out there, when you go to 412, there's that big drainage right there. Is that where it's going to be draining to?
It mostly drains
You say west, but then
Yes,
from
it's-
there, where? Because if you say just west, it goes right onto the Butler property.
Right. I believe that it does. So there's a low spot kind of shared between these three property lines. And so just depending on how full that low spot gets kind of dictates which direction it goes, whether it flows south along kind of the Taco Bell shared line or if it flows west across the Butler property under the driveway.
That under the driveway doesn't work. I mean, honestly,
Say that again?
the under the driveway doesn't work. So there's no way of making them require that that drainage goes down to that 412, or the state won't let us do that drainage to 412?
Kevin, I think what they're asking, where this water goes here, there's that line.
Right there to that drainage, yeah.
That drainage is so flat that it really doesn't go to 412 today for the most part.
But we can't require them to do that? Or, I know that there's state requirements. I mean, is that one of the issues? I mean, because it sounds like we're getting ready to put more,
So what they're doing with their detention pond, it won't be a standard detention pond. It'll actually have essentially a French drain underneath. They're going to do more or less something closer to a rain garden where that slowly seeps out. And then they provided two chambers. So one smaller chamber is sized for the smaller events, and that'll seep out through the French drain. And then there's a larger chamber of the pond that would be activated in a larger rain event and function more like a normal detention pond. So I think that they've done kind of everything that we can expect them to do to make sure they're not having an impact to the
On the
west.
Butler.
And part of that is by leaving that area wooded as it is today to help accommodate that water as well. And the other thing, I know Atwood's kind of shifted where that water went, but with this site, that's really not the case. It's already draining to
Into
the
that
west.
area.
That whole area between the two sites already drains west. They're not adding to the area draining into that location.
I just wondered why we couldn't force it to go into that drainage right there on the highway when it could easily handle that drainage.
We had looked at that at one point. I don't think that it would be feasible. We have a water line there and several other utilities, and that would require a significant project to make that function. And then the state would also have to approve the additional water since it doesn't drain there today. So that it's really not comparable to the project that they're proposing.
Can I jump in? So when you say significant, let's say we took that on. Are we talking about $1 million? Are we talking about 300,000? You know, I mean, what kind of money are we talking about? Because we have, for lack of a better way to say it, created a problem that maybe we could alleviate at our expense?
There are several issues. One, it's not a public project. It's not affecting the general public, so we wouldn't be able to spend public money on it. It's also, I would imagine.
I don't believe that's accurate because we allowed through our processes, we have allowed them to get way more water than they were originally getting. And so I don't know that I agree with that, but except for that, go ahead.
There's also likely wetland in that location. It would be delineated as wetland. And so it would be quite a hurdle to get that project done. And I don't believe that's something that the city should take on.
There's a lot of variables and a lot of history to that property.
Yeah.
Not just, I mean, like, it is an agriculture, and what you can do federally to an piece of agriculture land and still keep your agriculture benefits, that you're limited on what you can do to that land. And so, and there's just so many variables and so much history to that it can't come back on the city. There's been too much.
Yeah. So Ken, you?
I just wanted to ask Kevin, with the work that they're going to be doing, is there anything that would help the existing problem? I mean, I don't know, I mean, the work that they're doing, could it entail something that would help alleviate the problem that we're all thinking about?
They're not proposing any work.
Well,
off
I
of
know they're
their
not
property.
proposing any work, but could something be done while they're in there doing that? Could there, whether it's just the way they're grading that, or, I don't know, that's why I'm asking. Is there something while they are in construction and doing the drainage for that property, is when they get to that northwest corner and they're working that area, is there anything that you can think of that they can do that would help the drainage with the problem coming off of the Atwood property?
I don't believe so, 'cause they're intentionally leaving that area as it is.
That's going to stay,
That's correct. To help minimize that impact, they're leaving that area wooded to help continue to absorb some of that water. If while they were out there, if the owners to the west wanted to contract with them to grade portions of their property or whatever else, they would be welcome to do that privately.
Has anybody approached Atwoods because that drainage? Because it's cutting off right there at that corner. Do you know what I'm talking about? It flows right there at that corner and goes over to the Butlers, and that's where it created that. So has anybody talked to the Atwoods about cutting that off and making it flow over to this and pushing it down to where you said will go under the road?
We've spoken with them about it. I don't believe they've pursued that option.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Betsy.
The retention pond sounds more involved than your average retention pond. And who's going to be responsible for upkeep and making sure it's doing the job it's supposed to do?
Jiffy Trip.
Okay.
It will be private pond. We'll have an easement if there are issues or like some sort of emergency, like if the outlet structure clogs, we would have the ability to get in, but it would be Jiffy Trip, the owner, that would be doing the maintenance.
Is there a requirement of a
schedule to check to make sure it's working properly, like once a year, every 2 years? Are there any regulations around that?
Not at this time. So that's something that we're looking to add in our drainage manual update, and something that then the city would also be able to sign off on to make sure that commercial ponds are being maintained properly.
Yeah, that would be great. So, thank you.
Yes,
Can I
Lisa?
piggyback on that? That's a good point. A couple years ago, we talked about all our retention and detention ponds. Did we ever get a schedule for maintenance on those that we could actually show people that we've done maintenance and that we inspect them? And I'm thinking over there by Gates, that is the worst one right there behind the church. Did we ever come up with a schedule for the retention, detention on maintenance and inspection?
Not for private ponds.
No, I'm talking about city ones. Since she mentioned it, it made me think. About 2 or 3 years ago, we discussed this. Are we nowhere with it?
I'd have to check. My understanding is we mow it on our routes, and then once a year, we inspect the ponds themselves to make sure.
But there's no logs. Because I've asked for logs, and I've never been given logs, and I was told that they don't exist.
I'm not certain if there are logs or not.
That's something, Kevin, just make a note, if you check, see if log, if not, let's make sure we're keeping up with a log to make sure inspections are being done.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I would also agree with that request, please.
Thank you.
Any other thing? Board, we usually cut off at an hour and a half. Do you guys want to push through some of these just to get some of your questions, or if you have questions? I don't want to keep you longer than you guys want to.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I have nothing about the Banff. I do want to mention that I want some more detail about the Church of Christ. When they built those, they were building them for homeless, and they were kind of hodgepodge put in there. I'm not saying they were poorly built. They just looked like they face funny. And I really think we should use caution on that one. Other than that, I don't have any more questions.
Is there anything else the board may look through that real quick if you have any questions? Director Long, do you want me to have anyone speak on that to answer?
Well, I think in the next couple of days, you and I should speak, and then maybe we can get.
And then I'd be interested in what comes of y'all's conversation, please.
Maybe if you just let the board know what.
Yeah, or we could.
Yeah.
And feel free to talk to Megan. Is that yours or Ben's?
This is actually Ben's project. He'll be back in on Monday.
So I'm sure Chris will be able to discuss it, and we'll give you an update. Other questions? On there, just if not, just want to start out, Segan Morrow in the back. She's our new admin too, and we'll be backing up Janae. She's been here for a couple of days, and after this meeting, you still with us? We're good. I'm just really excited what she brings to our team. I'm really excited. Just got a great attitude, and just happy to have her. Real quick reminder, Park and Rec offices will be moving to community development starting Monday. You'll see something come out tomorrow. Regular Zumba classes and different things like that will still be held at the Park and Rec building. So schedule shouldn't change. Zumba and just everything else they do over there will stay at that building, but the main offices will be at community development right next door. Just a reminder, city offices will be closed Thursday and Friday. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And then tomorrow at 10:30, Pools of Siloam, we're going to be meeting out at the amphitheater to discuss the Pool of Siloam being there. What I'm hearing, it will not be held. We're last year's location. We're still trying to work some things. But myself and Phil and Travis and Chris and Jason will be meeting at the amphitheater. I think they're wanting to start that. I think it's like the 13th through the 26th, one showing at night. The thing is, I think the last thing we have at the amphitheater this year, we have the high school's going to be doing a performance on the 7th. I think the schedule's kind of clear after that, but we're going to meet out there, discuss it, because again, all that, the theme and everything's got to stay out there and just see how it works out there. But we'll be meeting tomorrow on that. And if the board's interested, it's something I'd like to do and Megan wants to do, if you guys can discuss a color. Ken came up with an ugly sweater idea. I'm not sure
I
you
came
guys
up
will
with
go
a different
along with
one.
that. We're going to meet at 6 o'clock, December 3rd, before the board meeting, and just do a group picture. I'd like to put a picture out from our board, just wishing everybody a happy holidays. And, that's up to you guys. You want to wear red, whatever you let me know and I'll let everybody know. But, the ugly sweater, I would love to see some of the ugly sweaters you guys would bring in, but we're going to do that at 6 o'clock on Tuesday.
Well,
I
if
don't
we're
wanna
going
do
to do ugly sweater, we've got to agree on it now so that not just one person shows up.
Yeah, with the ugly sweater. I thought black with jeans because all the white would make us stand out.
And that's the discussion. You guys let me know and give me guidance. And again, the girls, Misty and Janae, did just an awesome job of getting decorated. Our stuff was really, really old and out of date. And so they've done a really good job getting this decorated for a winter theme. So appreciate it. If you look outside, you need packages wrapped. These guys are professionals. I'm just amazed how good those boxes look. But anyway, 6 o'clock, I will make sure we send out a reminder of that again. Early voting started today, and don't forget early voting, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
I vote no on
Directors.
ugly sweater, and I move we adjourn. Or do we do the down the line?
Anybody, yes, no on the ugly sweater so that nobody can, okay. I'm seeing a
I
head
vote on
of
black.
no, I think the majority is no, sorry, Ken, no ugly sweater. Yes.
I've made a note, and just from our conversation tonight, can you guys give me, you can't vote, the mayor can ask you, I can pull this handbook and set up a workshop in the next week or two after the holidays, if you guys want to sit down in the workshop. If you can kind of give me nods or just kind of a little hand, I'll be happy to do that, because I think it'd be easier discussing a workshop instead of in a
That's-
board meeting.
I
So
I
Janae's
see.
like, gosh, I got to pull something else. She's going to get me over there. Again, it's not trying to sneak anything. It's just trying, I want discussion. I'm trying to do what's best for the city. So if we can do that, I'm good with that.
You have a majority that says yes, they want to do that.
Good. So I will just plan on pulling that also, and we will set up and I kind of told Barbara to set that up already because I kind of knew where you were going.
Okay.
And so that's all I have, Mayor. I'm sorry.
Nothing.
Oh, so we're not going to do that. Do you have a
Move we
motion?
adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.